This is a tutorial on Pokemon Black and White 2 RNG manipulation for speedrunning White 2. So if you are here for just general RNG manipulation, I will not be going over that, but if you are here specifically to learn about the RNG manipulation for speedrunning, such as making your own Tepig and Drilbur, then this will be the tutorial for you to explain it. So some of the tools that you'll need, and these will all be linked in the description, is a copy of Pokemon White 2. You can do this with Black 2, but Black 2 is slower for the speedrun. And the reason why is because Charles is a rotation battle instead of a triple battle in White 2. So it's a lot slower when you do something like that. But two other reasons is you have to fight an extra trainer in Reversal Mountain in Black 2, and you also cannot one-shot Kyurem. Specifically Black Kyurem in Black 2, but you can in White 2. So it is recommended to do White 2 over Black 2. You also need an original DS or DS Lite. Gen 5 games lag on the 3DS because of DSi enhancements, and obviously that can be slower since the game just literally lags out. It's quite funny. And Timer Zero is harder to hit and be more consistent with on 3DS as well. Timer Zero is something I'll explain in just a minute, but it is definitely recommended to use the DS or the DS Lite because it is a lot easier to hit your Timer Zero that way, since it's going to be one of the most, variable parts of the speedrun. You also need Flow Timer, which is a program by StringFlow, it's like a metronome timer, helps you hit the RNG manipulation, if you are not familiar with it. You'll also need RNG Reporter. You'll also need deSmuME, which is a DS emulator. I cannot provide the ROM, so please do not ask. It is illegal to provide the ROM, you will have to find it on your own. You also need Lua scripts for Black and White 2 speedrunning. Two optional programs you could have as well is Run as Date, which will make it easier to set the date on your emulator. That way you can do some RNG manipulation stuff to test out and things, rather than just doing something like Record Movie. It just makes it 10 times easier. And you'll also want Pokefinder if you end up doing the Timer Zero Method 1 to finding your Timer Zero. So you'll need that, since RNG Reporter does not have that, sadly. Now, what is Timer Zero? Timer Zero is a 4-digit hexadecimal value that is used to generate seeds, aka RNG. You don't need to know the specifics of it, because quite frankly, no one really knows exactly how Timer Zero works, even in speedrunning. But what you do need to know is it will cause a lot of variation in your RNG manipulation, since there are 6 different Timer Zero values that are generated per second for the Black and White 2 games. For the Black and White 1 games, it's a little less than that, but for the Black and White 2, it's the 6 ones, and they are definitely really annoying to hit, since you can hit anyone more consistently over the other. It does require a lot of trial and error to see how you can hit yours consistently, and there are multiple ways to help with that consistency. So some ways to adjust the Timer Zero consistency is setting the game boot up to auto mode. Auto mode will immediately boot up whatever DS game is in your DS, rather than going to the start menu and you have to manually click there. I don't know why it helps it with the consistency. I don't know why any of this helps with the consistency, but these all affect the Timer Zero. So it is important that you probably do at least the auto mode you do want to do, but the rest of these, it just kind of depends, and it takes some trial and error. The rest of them are changing the length of the name on the DS, which is the name that you kind of give it at the top left corner on the top screen. You can also change the length of the comment on the DS. That's the thing your profile says that you're saying, basically. And the other thing you can do is change the theme color of the DS. So there are a bunch of different colors on there that you can pick from, and all of these affect Timer Zero. Now, there are 2 methods to finding your Timer Zero. Method 1 is using the Save Needle Search to calibrate and determine your Timer Zero. It's great for those with little to no progress in the game, but it is a bit tedious to repeat. But still fantastic if you just got a fresh copy of White 2 and you don't want to progress through the game, you just want to find the Timer Zero. Get started with the run rather than have to sink any more time than you already have to with this. Method 2 is getting a wild encounter to determine your timer 0. This one requires some progress in the game because you can't capture a low-level Pokemon and determine the IVs from that. There will be too many different variables you'll end up finding from that, so you want to progress just a little bit to at least get to somewhere where there's high enough level Pokemon. My recommendation is usually a little bit past Driftveil. You'll be able to find high enough level Pokemon there, and you'll probably be able to catch something. If you want to instead use something else, you can also catch legendaries if you have a completed copy with a Master Ball, but honestly, like, all you need is Sweet Scent, and then you're good to go, if you already, like, caught all the legendaries and stuff. You'll want to repeat whichever method you end up using at least 3 to 5 times to determine which timer 0 you are hitting consistently. More is better, but not required. If you find that you're hitting, like, a bunch of different timer 0s, it's good to do more, but if you're finding you're hitting the same one after about 4 times in a row, then it's pretty likely that you're okay with that timer 0. Okay, so this recording might look a little bit weird compared to the rest of this video, because I'm actually re-recording this section 3 months after the initial recording, because the method I suggested doesn't work. So there's a new method to replace that does in fact work, and I have tested it myself. So what I will instead be showing you is the save pointer searching instead. It is very good for saves that don't have that much progress in them, like little to no progress. In fact, you don't have to make any progress. You can just boot up the game, save in the first town, like as soon as you get control of your character, and you'll be able to track the pointer and tell what timer 0 you on. But you'll need to set up some things for timer 0. Now the first thing I recommended was setting your DS to auto mode, and in order to do that you have to go to settings here, you click this little pink crunch icon, and then you click, I believe it's this top one, yes. So this top one, it says startup, you'll want to switch from manual mode to auto mode. Now one thing that will happen is when you switch to auto mode, you will no longer like immediately boot into the DS menu as you would with manual mode, and you might be wondering, well, how am I supposed to get to the main menu for, let's say, changing the time and date without having to pop out my cart and stuff like that? So I'm going to show you. All you have to do is turn the power off, turn it back on, and hold the start button on the DS as you're booting it up, and it will automatically take you to the start menu right here. A couple other things that I suggested was changing your DS name, comment, and color, and those are all in this green icon here. The colors at the top, you can pick whichever one. It all affects the timer 0. The DS comment is this one that's on the right, I believe. And as you can see, mine is set to this. It's got 4 characters. It doesn't matter what kind of character you set in here, just as long as there's a character that will affect the timer 0. And then the last thing is the DS name, which is this middle button. And as you can see, mine is like a 5-letter name. Those all affect it, so if you have trouble hitting timer 0, it's recommended to change one of those. Usually the DS comment is the best way to do it, because it's really easy to mess with timer 0 that way, but if you're still having trouble, you can mess with the other stuff too, so the color and the name quite easily. Now, onto the fun stuff. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to set the date, and I'm setting it to today's date. As you can see, it's 3 months in advance compared to this next part of the video that's going to play. And I'm going to set the time to something somewhat easy to remember. I'll just set it to 2:20. And what I'm going to use is I'm going to use PokeFinder. Now, PokeFinder is a pretty recent tool that was developed. It is very, very, very good for finding seed search stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a needle search, and we're going to make sure to tick saving here. It's very important that you click that. You want to pick your version. Mine is white 2. You'll want to have a key press ideally. I recommend holding something like down. It's pretty easy. What a key press is a key press is where you hold a button as you're entering the game, so when you're taken to, for example, this menu right here, which will pop up, this is the Nintendo DS menu. If you press a button, it can be any button, it will count that as a key press. The idea is that you hold it as you're turning on the DS so that it will boot into the game. And it's quite consistent and easy. If you're holding start, it will obviously take you to here, and if you have that, just wait like about a second or two until you see the little Nintendo DS screen pop up, and then you can be free to hold start, and it won't take you to the start menu. So, holding down. I also need my MAC address, so let's go ahead and grab that really quick. Should be quite easy. All you have to do is go into your Wi-Fi connection settings, and it should be in the settings. But I'll show you how to do it right here. So you go to Nintendo Wi-Fi connection settings, options, system information, there's my MAC address. So you're gonna put it right into here. Make sure it is typed correctly. There we go. So now I have pretty much everything I need. I also need to set the date here, so let's go ahead and set it to the 27th of 2022. Not 2023. It's not 2023 yet. And then I'm gonna go ahead and set this to 0220, which is 2 a.m. or 2:20 a.m. So once you have all that, just pick a date. Any date will do. Any time will do. It doesn't matter which ones, just as long as you have it. So as I said, I'm gonna pick 2:20 here. You'll also need to pick a second. In this case, just pick 5 because all you have to do is immediately turn off and on the DS. And set the max to about 7, just in case you end up missing that window. Now, this method is a little more tedious to do and repeat compared to the wild encounter method, so it will take you a few tries. Ideally, as I said, do it about 3 to 5 times. You should be good. If you find you're hitting different timer zeros, you'll need to do it some more times and see which one you're hitting more consistently. If you're not hitting any consistently, then all you need to do is just change your timer zero stuff, and you should be good to go. So, with that done, I will go ahead and do this. Down. So I'm holding down here as I'm entering the game. And now I can stop holding down. Once you see the Pokemon Company screen pop up, you can stop holding your key press. You should be good. And I'm gonna enter the game here. Don't launch C gear if you have a save file in here. It will mess with your settings. So, I'm gonna go ahead and save. So, let's see. So this was right. It's the initial pointer, by the way. I should probably note that. So, if you look at around right here, where my mouse is, it should show up right there. And I'm gonna go ahead and do it some more. I'll need to do this at least about 7 times should be good. So this one was facing top left. I'm getting my left and right confused. And I'm just gonna keep doing this. This one's facing right. It is the initial pointer. And again. This one's facing left. This one's facing down. This one's facing up. I'll do it one more time, see if I can get a result out of this. This one's facing down. Let's search. Alright. So, I have found a result. So you can see it's just one result. This is my timer 0. It says 10F3. This is my seconds. It says 5. So what you'll want to do is, when you have this, you'll want to actually transfer it to RNG Reporter. You do want this on RNG Reporter instead. So you're going to have to take this timer 0, and you're going to have to take your MAC address and paste it into the profiles for this. So you just click New, click a profile name, so it can be anything, like 10F3, which is your timer 0. And then put your MAC address here, so like MAC address, something like that. Just have the V count be pretty much everything, so that'd be like 70 to 90. Same with anything else, the frame 0 to 10. I don't think it particularly matters. Timer 0 minimum needs to be the exact timer 0. Same with this one, which is timer 0 max. Actually, no, just copy everything that's pasted here. So the V count is... Okay, it was just gonna get in my way. Just paste everything that you see here. You can even, if you want, create the profile here, and then just quickly copy it over here, and you should be good to go. As I said, you'll want to repeat this about 3 to 5 times. This should give you enough of a sort of... What's the word? It'll give you enough info of what you are hitting consistently. If you find, again, that you're not hitting any consistently, try messing with the DS comment, try messing with the DS name, try messing with the theme color. You will get there eventually. It's just a little finicky hit. This game is quite bad with timer 0, but once you can find a way to hit it more consistently, you should be good to go. And yeah. So this is method 2. It requires having a little more progress in the game just so that you can encounter a higher level Pokemon, since you'll be using the IVs to determine your timer 0. So in this case, I am on Route 6. You'll also want to be in an area with little to no NPC movement, since the NPCs can affect the RNG. You will also want a Sweet Scent Pokemon in your party. It's pretty easy to get Fungus here, and pretty easy to get it with Sweet Scent at that, if you want. And this method is super easy to repeat, a lot less tedious than the Univalink method where you have to do the different arrows and stuff, but this one's a lot easier to repeat. So here in my party, I have this Fungus with Sweet Scent. You also want to have at least one empty slot in your party, that way it's easier to check the Pokemon. So if you haven't done that, just go make sure to do that. Once you have save in the spot that you are most happy with, which here I'm happy with since there's not any NPCs on the screen, which wouldn't affect the RNG. And once again, you're going to want to pick a date and time, which in this case, I will just pick the same date and time. You'll want to go to 5th Gen Tools, and instead of Univalink parameters, you're going to do find DS parameters. Yep. Okay. So you want to set the version to White 2. Language to English. Once again, I'm going to need my DS MAC address, which I don't have noted down, unfortunately. Should have gotten that. But I can remember the first 3 at least. Like that. Held button I'll do up again. Again to 25. You'll want to actually set this to a little lower, since sometimes you can get some different results, which isn't very good. So in this case, I'll just go ahead and set it to 6 for simplicity's sake. So once you have everything, go ahead and go to your main menu again, set the time, and do the game entering, which all you have to do in this case is just turn on and turn off your DS, since 5 is the fastest second. Oops, I forgot to confirm. Make sure to confirm, that is important. Otherwise, you're not going to actually set the second. Holding the button. Once again, held buttons are when you are turning on the DS, and it will register a held button as you're turning it on, which will register the game, which does affect the RNG. So now, I'm entering the game. I'm going to use this Fungus for Sweet Scent, and encounter wild Pokemon. And I've encountered this nice Carablast. So you'll want to catch it. Just use this. There we go. Now what you want to do is check the stats of the Pokemon. So go ahead and go to Summary. And now you'll want to do Calculate IVs from Stats. So you'll have to pick the Pokemon here. So in this case this is Carablast. It is Naughty Nature. Its characteristic is Proud of its Power. And now you also want to input its level. And you want to go to the stats screen and input these stats. So in this case I have 58 HP, 49 attack, 26 defense, 25 special attack. Nope, not 35, 25. That would have been bad. Make sure you input that correctly. 23 special defense and 34 speed. Let's click check IVs, and it'll give a list of IVs here. Hit OK. This is fine too. And now you will do search. And it shows my timer 0 here, which is the exact timer 0 I have. So once you have that, if you have 1, you want to click send results to profile. Name your profile whatever is most memorable for you, so this would be like 10F2 Carablast, so you remember that you encountered this Carablast. The version is white 2. You want to hit these key presses, all of them, so this is good for seed searching stuff, and everything else is fine. You'll want to repeat this method, as I said, about 3 to 5 times. It should be pretty easy to repeat, because if you're encountering the same Pokemon over and over again like this, as well as with like the same nature, same gender, all that stuff, should be pretty easy to tell when you're hitting the same timer 0. If you find you are not hitting the same timer 0, you'll want to repeat this method a few more times until you find which one that you are hitting the most consistently out of all the methods. And yeah. So the first thing that you'll probably want to do is you'll probably want to search for Drilbur first. The two things you'll need for speedrunning is specifically Tepig and Drilbur manipulations, but I recommend starting with Drilbur first, since Drilbur has much stricter parameters compared to Tepig, and Tepig has more forgiving parameters. So to start your search, you will need to progress on deSmuME up to Castelia Sewers. You'll want to search for a Drilbur with 31, 31, 31, x 31, 31, which is 31 in every single stat except special attack. And that's in terms of IVs. You'll also want it to be Adamant Nature for the run. Both genders are completely fine, however I recommend the female Drilbur since you won't have to deal with Attract on Skyla and Grimsley, which is 2 trainers you have to worry about in the game. You will have to worry about it on Root, however after running male Drilbur, I can certainly say you probably will want to deal with that more over Skyla and Grimsley, which is very like mid to end game. Both abilities are fine as well, however Ability 1 is slightly better, which is Sand Force. This helps you save a turn on Route 4 against Colress, since you are using Mud Slap against his Magnemite. And that is a 2-shot if you have Sand Force, since the Sandstorm helps boost your ground-type moves a little bit. And Drilbur doesn't have very good special attacks, so that's a little good. But it is not required, it just saves a turn. So in order to do your Drilbur manipulation search, you'll want to do Time Finder here, and click 5th generation Time Finder. And you'll want to set the profile to whichever one you found you hit the most consistently, so in this case this would be my, this one that I already have set. You'll want to start with actually like the first year on the DS, which is 2000. The years go up all the way to 2099, so you have 100 years of searching on the DS to find a seed. I recommend searching the odd-numbered months, however, if you find like you're having trouble finding a Drilbur, you can hit all the months. I recommend the odd-numbered months because you're going to be searching for odd-numbered months for Tepig, which I will explain why later. You'll want to set this min-max frame to 1, since you're not doing any sort of delaying in the game. You'll want to set this encounter type to cave spot since you're looking for a shaking dust cloud spawn of sorts instead of just a normal wild encounter. You'll want to set these encounter slots to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. You'll want to set this HP, attack, defense, special defense, and speed all to 31. The nature is adamant. The ability, as I said, I'm going to search for 1. The gender, I prefer female, so you would set this to 50-50, and then click female. You'll want to also tick this, which is search for nearby PID RNG frames, and you'll want to set this to about 150. And once you do that, you'll hit generate and start searching for Drilburs. Now, I don't need to do this because I've already got a bunch of seeds generated, so I'm gonna go ahead and cancel this. However, you should be getting a bunch of different Drilburs. Ideally, you want one within the 5 to 15 second range. I'm using a custom version of RNG Reporter, which already filters out those 5 to 15 second ranges. But since this is the second manipulation in the game, you want it to be as fast as possible. So ideally between 5 to 15 seconds. If you can't get a 5 to 15 second one, that's okay. You'll also want to try and aim for the PID RNG frame being between 100 to 120. Those are pretty easy to hit, and they're also really, really fast, which is fantastic for this RNG manip. Any lower is a little bit harder to hit. I would probably not recommend it. Any higher is fine. You can hit that too, but your step counter might be in trouble if you do that, which is very important for Drilbur as well. So in this case, I already have, as I said, a bunch of seeds here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this seed. This is a Drilbur seed I know that works. And you'll want to pull up run as date. So here I have run as date. I'll hit run. And it'll open up. So I go ahead and open up white 2. And this has already progressed up to Castelia Sewers. Make sure not to turn on the sea gear because that does actually affect it. So go in here. And normally you want to take about 3 steps in here just in case you have a Drilbur with high step count, and then use your repel. So progress to over here. As normal. You'll usually fight some plasma grunts over there. So something to note is you will be able to save in a bunch of different tiles. So I'm gonna save in the state just so I don't mess up my step count. But you can save in any of these up here. If you are 1 tile away from the store, something very important to note is you actually cannot skip the season cutscene, which I will go over as I'm entering this game. So you can save on any of these tiles, even all the way back here. Usually the farther away you save, the lower your PID RNG will be, but you can increase your step count this way, which is very important for dust clouds. So you can save in a few tiles over here as well. So I didn't go over, but one thing you will need actually to check is if a dust cloud can spawn. So what you do is you click this button called Researcher. You have this, you set this to BWRNG. You set this to be greater than 60. Input the seed, set the max results to about 150, and check if a dust cloud can spawn. So the thing you're looking for is this first column to say 0. This can help determine if you have a Drilbur that, dust cloud can actually spawn on it. So I actually forget the frame that this can spawn on, but I know it's, like, fairly early. So here's one. This is a 110. This means a dust cloud can spawn on 110. And there's some more. This one's 80. This one's 79. So you're looking for those zeros, and you usually want it to be about 5 or more frames. I would go for 10. 10 is pretty safe just in case the dust cloud spawn is very far away from you. If it's super duper early, you'll want to stay farther back because the thing you want to do is you want to take 20 steps and hit the Pid RNG frame the exact same time as you take those 20 steps, because then that will determine that the dust cloud will spawn, since that is how they spawn. They spawn every 20 steps after checking Pid RNG. So in this case, I'm gonna load back the state, and I'm gonna save down here, since I know this is the tile that works for me. And once you do that, you'll want to actually start loading up some Lua scripts. You'll need 3 of them. Actually, maybe 2 of them. Hold on. I need to double check that. So, I'm going to load up seed injection. Oops. I didn't actually load it up. So... want to load up seed injection. You'll also want to load up this one. Okay, you do need all 3. So you'll need the seed injection Lua, you'll also need the Gen 4 and 5 Pokemon, and you'll need this Black and White 2 revised Lua, which actually shows the Pid RNG that you're on, which is very important. So I need to edit this to be my seed, so you paste it right here, and you hit save, so Control S. Once you do that, you want to just restart it, make sure that everything is running. Make sure not to turn on the sea gear, as I said. And this is the season cutscene that I was talking about. You can skip through it if you're all the way back there. You want to make a save state in here just so it's easy to load. And then you'll need to try and find your Drilbur. So you can do a bunch of different movement to try and get the dust cloud to spawn. Unfortunately, it's not spawning for me. But by doing different types of movements, will determine dust cloud spawning. So you can walk to try and get it. You can run to try and get it. That is not the right slot. And again, doing this will try and get the dust cloud to spawn. Unfortunately, I'm not getting it to spawn. So there's one. There's a dust cloud that spawned. And it shows like the Pid RNG that you're on and everything like that, which is pretty handy to know. And by trying to hit for certain Pid RNG frames will determine you getting your Drilbur. Okay, so here's an example of this manip actually working, since I now figured out what was wrong. So here's a movement I have for my Drilbur. And you'll see that this is a Drilbur. It'll be level 19, which is the highest level you can encounter it. And if I run this Lua right here, set this to white 2, you'll see that it is Adamant Nature. And its special attack, you know, obviously, all these IVs, so 31 and everything, special attack, 29, stuff like that. And I can do different movement to usually reach this Drilbur, so I can sometimes like do this, and that'll give me another Drilbur. If you try and enter it at a like different time, you'll get something different. So for example, here's a green shard because I entered the frame at a different Pid RNG frame. And you'll just need to do a bunch of testing to try and hit it. Like here's a bold Drilbur, for example, which is not obviously the correct Drilbur. It'll take some trial and error, but eventually you will get it. So you can, as I said, you can do a bunch of different things, such as walking into it. You can run immediately into it if your Pid RNG frame is, you know, pretty low. You can stall it out like I have to here, just to try and get the Pid RNG to advance enough. And usually if you can find one movement, there's usually a couple different more that you can try and get. So if you find that you're having trouble doing the movement for your Drilbur, you can go back in and try to do it again to try and hit it. And yeah. So something I partially glossed over, that I probably shouldn't have glossed over, is if you, for some reason, cannot get your Drilbur to spawn, even like trying like the different save tiles that you're on, You can't just get the dust cloud to spawn, or you can't seem to hit the PID RNG frame that it's on. Because I've had a few Drilburs where, even though I got the dust cloud to spawn, I just cannot hit the PID RNG frame, right? So if you find you're having trouble, you'll just go back into Time Finder, increase this year by 1, and then just generate more seeds. One other thing to note is, if you want to save your results, you'll get an option to right-click and then save results to a text file, and you can save it through there, which will be easier to keep track of, and stuff like that. So once you've found your Drilbur, the next thing that you'll want to do is find your Tepig. So the first thing you want to make sure to do is make sure there's no save data on your deSmuME emulator. You will want to search for a Tepig with 31, 31, 30 plus, 30 plus, 30 plus, and 25 IVs, as well as being naughty nature. The 30 plus is in your defense, special attack, and special defense because it doesn't really matter too much, but you do want the perfect in HP and your attack. The 25 speed is very, very specific. You can make it higher than 25, so 25 plus. However, I recommend 25 personally because it's much safer for the Sharon fight, where he has the solo puff. It gets you into Blaze much safer, and Blaze strats are faster in general for the run anyways, so I recommend 25. You want Naughty Nature, however, if you're running challenge mode, then you'll want Rash Nature instead. For just normal, any % Naughty is faster over Rash. You also want to check the pointer when creating save data text displays when you find a seed and load it up, because that is one thing to note since that is your way of determining if you've hit the correct seed or not. You will also want to have MinOSR's Plasma Frigate password program open to use so that you can determine the Plasma Frigate password based on your trainer ID. And this can either be 2202, 7707, 9909, Zekrom, or Reshiram. You usually want a number password because those are much faster to input compared to Zekrom and Reshiram. So potentially and ideally, you want a Tepig with a Tepig seed with those numbered passwords. Some other things that you'll want to think about and worry about is you'll probably want to search with your Tepig seeds in odd-numbered months, as the reason why is you cannot search in winter. If you search in winter, that's not good because by stepping on snow, you are scrambling the RNG, which is not good for doing extended manip and stuff, so don't search in the winter or don't use winter. You can search summer seeds, however, I highly recommend against it because one of the things you'll actually want to get and manipulate is a Pidove, and Pidove is only 5% to encounter on Route 20 in the summer, versus the 25% encounter rate you have in every other season. And you do need that for Fly later on, which is important. You'll also want to check that there is no rain on the days that seeds are generated, because rain weakens your fire-type moves, which can make you take like extra turns or make fights a little more scary. Plus it plays an animation, so it's very slow and you don't want that. If you want to know what days have rain days, here is a handy weather chart, which covers spring, autumn, and summer. It shows all the days that have rain. Any blocks that are like light colored is not a safe day, and any blocks that are like darker colored, that means it's safe to have a seed on that day. I will also link this chart in the video below so that you may view it more easily, or you can pause this video to determine that. So the next thing you want to do is, as I said, find your Tepig. So you do a similar process to your Drilbur. You go to Time Finder, click 5th generation Time Finder, which I already have open right here. And instead of the min-max frame being 1, you instead set it to 15 to 19. And the reason why is if you... So normally we used to use 15, however, Minnow found that if you say no to Juniper as you're doing your trainer name, it will advance this frame by 1, which will make you find more Tepigs. So for each back out, it will add +1. So for 16, you do 1 back out. For 17, it's 2. For 18, it's 3. And for 19, it's 4. And any more, and you probably won't be able to find your pointer, like seed in time. 15 is none, so you don't have to do any backouts when that happens. You are again searching these odd-numbered months. However, ideally you want to search the same month as your Drilbur. So for example, if your Drilbur is the first one, so then you just tick none of them and just hit the first one. But if you want to like give yourself some more results, I just recommend searching these odd-numbered months, as I said, and that should be fine. So we'll have to clear all these really quick. Instead of having like all those parameters in there, you'll want to do encounter type as gift Pokemon because it's Tepig. Let me go ahead and clear all these IVs as well, just so it's easier to see. So HP is 31, attack is 31, defense is 30 or higher, special attack is 30 or higher, special defense is 30 or higher, and speed is equal to 25. And once you have that, then you click generate, and it will search for some Tepigs. And like, here's one, for example, already, and another. And these frames are 15, 17, so for 17, that's 2 backouts saying, no, this isn't your trainer name twice. 15 is none. So, and then you'll see like these key presses to hold stuff like that, which is gonna be present on your Drilbur as well. So I already have a Tepig, but I'm gonna show you some stuff. So if you already have a seed here, let's just take the seed as an example. This is a January seed. So you're gonna go back in here, and you're gonna want to use this for searching your Drilburs. So what you're gonna want to do is you want to do Gen 5 Pid RNG, gift Pokemon. This doesn't matter. You're going to want to paste your seed right here. You're going to want to set this nature to naughty. And nothing else matters. So you're going to hit click generate, and you're going to see all these frames where you could get a naughty, like a naughty Tepig. The frames you're going to want to aim for is around 230 to 250. So if you do not see a Tepig that is 230 to 250, it means you probably won't be able to hit it. However, you can check anyways if you want, since NPC movement can kind of be a little finicky and sometimes the RNG can advance like crazy. But 230 to 250 is pretty safe. Higher you can still hit, but you will probably need to take a bunch of extra movement, which is a little slow, but you know, that's fine too. So once you've found a Tepig, which I have a Tepig right here, so I'm going to copy the seed and I'm going to put this in RNG reporter. And I believe this Tepig is either this one or this one. But either way, we're going to open up run as date again, and I have the date set, all the correct stuff, as well as AM. That is really important because sometimes it's very easy to click PM by accident. Open up deSmuME, again open up the emulator, and I'm going to just start with opening up the Lua script for the seed injection. I'm not going to open up the other ones just yet because one of the things I want to show is the trainer ID as well as the pointer. So I'm going to go ahead and put that seed in there and go ahead, enter the game. And you want to just hold B and mash A through this, since the text is set to slow automatically, and you won't be able to set the text to any faster until you actually get in the game. So going ahead and mashing through this text here. Go ahead and set your character to 1-letter name. And I recommend setting this to 1-letter name as well. Oops, that's a little fast. Okay, so one thing I want to note out and point out here is this pointer right here. So this pointer is what is going to help determine if you've hit the correct seed. In this case, my correct pointer was actually down, but you couldn't catch that in time because I couldn't pause the emulator in time. But you want to make note of what the initial pointer position was, and it can face one of 8 directions. And depending on the pointer position will determine if you know, hit the correct seed. It's a very easy way of doing it. Sometimes you can still get the right pointer in the incorrect seed though, which really sucks when that happens, but hopefully that's not the case for you. So gonna wait for Juniper to do her thing. And going ahead and speeding up this cutscene. You don't need to speed it up, but I'm just speeding it up just so it's, you know, easier to get through this, since this is kind of long, and I wish it was easier and shorter to explain this RNG minute, but unfortunately there's just so much that needs to be covered that it's important that I try and make this long. But we're gonna go ahead and skip through that. And once you get into the house here, so we're gonna get into the house. And the first thing you wanna do is open up your trainer ID. And look at your trainer ID really quick. So in this case, that is my trainer ID. So I'm gonna open up Minnow's program here that he has. And you need to input your trainer ID here. I will also link this in the description of this video. So in this case, my password is Redram. It's pretty slow, but this will help you determine the frigate password, which is really important for the second round of the plasma frigate, so that way you don't have to fight a bunch of extra grunts to get hints on what the password is. You now have the password because it's based on your trainer ID, and can just input that immediately. So once you have that, you want to set your options. So put this to fast, off, and set. Make sure to save the changes, and you'll want to go through this cutscene here. And go ahead and make a save state right here on this tile, just in case you need to load back. So you can do a bunch of different movements. However, I recommend taking a path with as little steps as possible first, and then trying to see if, you know, that works for you. So before we get into that, I need to open up 2 more Luas, just so I don't get ahead of myself. So you'll need this Lua right here, which is the Black and White 2 revised one. Use that for Drilbur before, and you'll also need the Gen 4 and 5 Pokemon Lua again, which we also used for Drilbur. So once you have those, go ahead and minus that out. Once you have those, I'm gonna go ahead and load back up my save state. You'll want to take a peek at this Pit RNG frame, like make sure you're watching it, because that will advance. Unfortunately, I need to restart the game, because I didn't realize that that was actually going to mess with my Pit RNG, but I do need that to be correctly aligned. So just gonna go ahead and skip through this cutscene again. It's very slow. Sure, we're a boy. Go through all this again. And that's why the Pit RNG just advances. I just needed it off so I could check the trainer ID and showcase how you use that. So you can speed up through this cutscene safely, by the way. The Juniper one I probably would not recommend speeding up with, but this one is fine, because nothing much is going on, so it's just a cutscene. Let's see if I can... Okay, so I should be good here now. Oops. It's a little too fast. Alright, so, now, as I said, you'll want to exit out of here. Try to take as few steps as possible. You can take more steps if you are trying to hit a higher frame. However, if you have like a low frame, I just recommend taking as little steps as possible. So he's gonna have his cutscene here with his sister. His sister's gonna go home. And then I recommend making another save state right here on this next text box. That way you can easily load back to it. So you can do a bunch of different movement to try and get your Tepig, and this will affect how the NPCs move around and stuff. So there's an example, right? This girl is moving like that. But now I'm gonna actually do what my manipulation is for this Tepig. So when I do this, now the girl doesn't, you know, walk. She just turns. So that will advance that will like mess around with the PID RNG and will, you know, try and help you get the Tepig that you need. So now we're talking to Bianca here. And we're gonna see if we hit the correct Tepig. So pick the Tepig. And once you get after A has a Tepig or something like that, you'll want to switch this to white 2, and then see if you hit it. So in this case, I know I hit it because this is Tepig. It's Naughty Nature, and these are all the correct stats. And you can see this actually right here. So I guess it's 130 to 150. I thought it was 230 to 250. My bad. 130 to 150 is what you want to aim for. And you know, that's all correct. It is male, everything else. So some tips that I have as well, in case you're having trouble hitting your Tepig. So obviously you know about the different movement. This can be anything from like turning to, you know, taking a bunch of extra steps, bonking if you want. I would not recommend that though, because that is a little hard to replicate, and that will all advance this RNG, which is easy to see if I don't have this Pokemon Lua going, right? So you can see like the current down there now, how it's advancing. And if you have a seed, particularly where the NPCs are just moving so much, like right now, right? If you have trouble hitting a seed, and it's because the NPCs are advancing like way too many times, one thing you can actually do is open your bag. And you have to open it fully for this to work. And while you're in here, you can register the berry bag, because we actually do need that for later. Close out of it, and that will slow the NPC RNG movement down, since it deloads the NPCs, which can help you hit your frame a lot easier. And hopefully by doing all these different movements, you can hit a Tepig, but sometimes you might not be able to hit the Tepig. So if you find that you can't really hit the Tepig, what you want to do is just try and find a new Tepig, keep going until, you know, you find one that looks promising and easy to hit. So, yeah. So the next thing you'll want to do after doing your Tepig manipulation is actually extending it. And what this manipulation involves is getting no encounters in the grass, since that wastes time. A Pidove on Route 20 for Fly. You can also encounter it in Flockacy Ranch, however that is a 5% chance to encounter, and I don't recommend doing that since you will also need to manipulate a Psyduck in Flockacy Ranch for Strength and Surf, since they are required in White 2 to beat the game. I recommend getting a Psyduck with the Damp ability, however both work. The reason why is because Psyduck's other ability is Cloud 9, and Cloud 9 displays an animation and a text box every time it's sent out into battle, and you do use that a few times to just sack it to help revive Drilbur or do some switching strats, stuff like that. So I do recommend Damp, however Cloud 9 is fine, especially if you cannot find another Psyduck, since it is a 10% encounter rate in there. Ideally, you want to try and extend this manipulation back all the way to Aspertia's City. However, you can just get it all the way up to Psyduck and be just fine. It's just then you risk getting encounters on the way back, which obviously loses time. However, that's not a big deal because there's not too many grass tiles on the way back, so it is what you want to do overall, but that is the goal of the manipulation. Get a Pidove, get a Psyduck, and get no encounters. So how to do your extended manipulation for Tepig, you start here on Route 19. You can exit the city on any tile you want. I'm just doing, like, I'm starting right here because it's probably easier to explain and show with grass and stuff. So I've saved here on this text box, and you can do anything you want. So you can, you know, move back and forth like this. You can do turns. You can just run through the grass. You can walk through the grass. All that kind of stuff. So in this case, for my extended manipulation, I just have to run straight. And that gives me, like, no encounters, which is really good. You'll want to run up to this cliff to make Alder, you know, get less, like, walk less. But, again, you can enter these tiles at any point. It's just whatever works for your seed. So, I do want to mention a few points where RNG does not advance, specifically. Just in case you end up you do mess up your manipulation a bit. So like for here, it's okay if you accidentally turn like a tile too early, as long as you correct it pretty quickly without just bonking here or anything. But in this case, for me, I just have to turn up and then over here. And RNG also does not advance here. As you can see, like the seed is not moving. My steps are though, so you want to be careful of your step count, but if you end up like accidentally moving a couple tiles off, that's fine. It's not a big deal. So here's an example of my Pidove manipulation for Route 20. And again, you can do anything you want for this. You probably also want to be running this Gen 4 and 5 Pokemon Lua, just so you can see like what wild encounters there are. So like for example, here is just, you know, running through the grass normally. So this gives like a Swaddle or something like that. But we don't want a Swaddle, we want a Pidove. So it's helpful to have this for when you're searching for these specific encounters, but you want the Pidove here, and you have like all this grass to do it. So after you've gotten the Pidove, the next thing you'll want to do is go into Floxy Ranch and try to get your Psyduck. You can do different movement again, like you can go like on this hill or something, try and get it. I've made a save state right here because it's usually best to save before like these grass tiles. So you can get like a Psyduck right here. You can move in any way you want to try and get something. So like here's a Lillipup, for example. Although we don't want Lillipup, obviously. And again, the point is to try and get a Psyduck. You can try and make it late, however, I recommend trying to get these Psyduck as early as possible. That way, like, in case you do drop the manip, then you don't have to restart the manipulation all over again. So, I recommend trying to get the Tepig, sorry, the Psyduck to spawn as early as possible. So, here is an example of my Tepig, or not my Tepig, Psyduck manipulation, where I'm just walking back and forth, which is, I just found this by being bored of just trying to find this stupid damp Psyduck in the ranch. But yeah, this is my Psyduck manipulation. And, you know, you want to try again to extend this all the way back to Aspertia's City. You can try to get no encounters, but you do want to try and get these two Pokemon for the HMs. So some final tips that I have for RNG manipulation for Black and White 2 is one of the things that you should definitely check while you're making these manipulations is see how much leeway you have for doing things such as like bonking. So for example, bonking into Bianca, you should definitely check that for Tepig just to see if like it's really really tight or if it's very forgiving window. This will help determine if you can hit these manipulations easily and consistently, because sometimes they're a little finicky and a little tight. So doing stuff like bonking in Bianca, or bonking on the cliff to Alder, or bonking into the walls while doing like turns and stuff for Drilbur, those are things you should definitely check to make sure that there is a little bit of leeway. If you are having trouble getting the desired outcome that you want, so for example for your extended manipulation, if you're having trouble, you know, finding a Pidove or Psyduck, it is recommended to try and adjust the movement earlier on to see if it can adjust the RNG a bit so that you can get the desired outcome you want. And one thing as well that you should definitely try and do after you found both of these manipulations is you should try playing the game with both the manipulations on the emulator to see how much leeway you have for your step count for Drilbur. Because one thing that's really important is the step counter, since if your step counter rolls over as you're getting this Drilbur, the IVs will also roll over. So it's important to try and see how much leeway you have. That way you know if you can take a bunch of extra steps or if you can only take like a few extra steps to get your Drilbur. And hopefully this video helps you with RNG manipulation for Black and White 2.